All right, y'all, back again with yet another video, and I'm gonna go ahead and try to get this one done too before I have to leave for work and everything, because y'all know how the internet thing with my phone is working right now. So this is what I really want to talk about. You know, um, so they approved the league starting December 22nd, which makes life incredibly hectic if you're an NBA player because you may be used to having like 4 or 5 months off before the season starts, and now that's going to be cut, and you have to go back to work next month, right? Granted, some of these guys have had off. Some guys have been off since March. Then there's some guys who were off. Everybody basically was off for that 3 month little stint before they went to Orlando, and then you got the ones that had to leave in August and so on based on the playoffs. So, like for the Pelicans, they were done in August. So you got September, October, November, and then now December. And it's a quick turnaround, and a lot of players don't like it, but there's a lot of money at stake for this too. But what I want to actually discuss here is how this is going to affect like the Pelicans and Lonzo Ball, and just I guess this may be also a little bit in general with the league. Uh, so I know Woj, I think, was talking about maybe possibly free agency starting before the draft, which I think is great. And they're gonna have to do something because free agency is gonna be going into training camp if they don't, and you're gonna have. I know SVG Stan Van Gundy said like, hey, it's gonna be crazy. You might have practice one day, think you're gonna have a certain number of people, and then trade goes through, and now you got less people. You got to kind of make shit work because you don't know what your roster gonna look like day to day. That's going to be really challenging on teams, especially when you're trying to build continuity. You got a new system, a new coach with the Pels. You're trying to get acclimated in everything and teach these principles. And you got players coming in and out, or some players not going to be there because they're getting traded. It just throws off a lot. It's going to put a lot of pressure on front offices and teams to get their players right for this season. So then we got players like, ZO2, Lonzo, Zion, uh, Ja Morant, basically all the young basketball players, younger side of their 20s, you know, especially those who've had injury histories like Zoe. You may be used to, let's see, if the season would have ended in April, they would have been out till they might have hit training camp in late September. So that's what, like 4 months, 5 months, and they start doing preseason stuff in October before the season starts. So maybe like 5 to 6 months basically. So Zoe essentially is only getting half of that time of an off season to actually get his work in. Same thing with Zion. And so, granted, I haven't seen Zion, so I don't know what Zion's looking like. I don't know if he's on diet, if he I don't know anything. I would assume, he's been grinding, but we'll see. But and also news, they brought back Fred Vinson. Just FYI, in case you guys didn't know, they did announce Fred Vinson is on the staff. So I know a lot of people were curious about that, but I think we all kind of assumed he was going to be on the staff because of the great work he did with the rest of the team, Zoe and Bi and everybody else. Um, but as this pertains to young players, that extra 2 months is crucial and valuable. That's time for you to fine tune, find some pickup games with other basketball players, work on the stuff that you've actually learned. You basically have to really shrink that. And then, when it comes to gaining muscle and strength and applying that in basketball game and getting, yourself situated and accustomed to it, that's gonna affect some of the growth of the young players. Now, here's the thing. Like I said, 3 months. Let's assume that Zion was told he needed to lose weight, right? Let's assume he was 300 pounds at the bubble. 3 months versus 5 months is a huge benchmark when we're talking about losing weight. right? I'm a 300-pound dude. I'm like, I'm over 300. I just know that much. I'm probably somewhere 320, 330, maybe. 5'8". To lose, and I'm more fat than Zion. For Zion to lose, let's just say 25 pounds, right? He could do it in 3 months. But let's just say he needed to lose 45. Could he do 45 in 3 months? That's 15 pounds a month. It's possible. But what effect is that going to have on his health? Because losing a lot of weight very, very soon is really not that healthy. It's not good for you. So there's a difference if he needed to lose 45 pounds over 5 months, which would be 9 pounds, or what is it, like 2.25 pounds per week, versus you have to trim that up and lose 15 pounds a month. And I'm assuming this is 4 week in a month. Maybe, we can add 2 or 3 days. That shit don't matter to me. But, versus 15 pounds, which is what, like 3.5, 3.75, something like that per week. That's a lot. I don't know if you guys have ever been in the gym, worked out, weight trained and stuff, but that's a lot to ask for in like that kind of period of time. Like that's not easy. That's almost 4 pounds a week. So that means that's a serious number to jump from like 2 to 4, like basically doubling the work or the progress you'd have to make, right? And so if you were maybe 500, 600 pounds, that's not that big of a deal. But when you're like in the 300s and trying to go down to the 200 stuff, that's a little bit more um, extreme. And so we don't know what that effect could have on Zion. See, if they could have started the league in February and they got like a normal like off season, Zion could, and that was see, let's see, because then he wouldn't have to be back for training camp in December or maybe January. So that gives him an extra 2 months. So that's like 6 months. So that's like that lowers the workload by like what is it, like 2.5 or 2.75 pounds per month, which is so much easier to accomplish than try because he's got double the time. That's so much more easier to do, and you can pace yourself through it and take your time. Like it's actually it's more than like 2 point something. I don't know. I ain't ate yet. I ain't had my coffee. Whatever. Fuck it. But the point is that it's a whole lot more difficult. He may not even get to that. He may be at 275, right? And that's close to what he came in as, but he's gonna have the time to acclimate his body to in-game play, because there's a difference in playing at certain weights. One weight makes you feel heavier and slower and drains your fatigue. One may make you feel lighter, but you may not have the stamina either that you had. Or your muscle strength may wane. You may not have the durability for like a full game. Your jumping power may decrease faster or something. All this stuff is important as it pertains to like Lonzo Ball. Lonzo Ball has been grinding. Granted, I ain't seen too many more videos recently, even though it's more like balance ball, stuff like that. But we know he's been doing like 2 a days. He's been grinding. He's been working on his offense. Losing 2 months to do pickup games, add other stuff to your toolbox, like especially if you had a schedule like, okay, I was going to start working out. I know JJ Redick said he wasn't going to start working out till October. Well, we're in November, right? So JJ Redick is only going to have this month left. He's only got a couple weeks left before boom, we in training camp, right? And he's a vet, and they need that time to recover. So it's like back to Lonzo. We seen him play that one game, or I guess pick up whatever with Ben Simmons. But what if he could have had the opportunity to play against LeBron or KD or Kawhi and try this stuff, or maybe Marcus Smart or Ben Simmons again, or any of the other clutch clients. I think Draymond's with clutch now. Some of these other defensive stalwarts. And he could have got tips and stuff. When Draymond's defending him, he can say, "Okay, let me tell you what you're doing wrong here with your play. You're planting your pivot foot here, and it's making I can pick you up here this way and cut you." Like you miss those important reps. You're missing those reps that actually fine tune at practice. Talking about practice. You're missing that practice that helps you to get used to your what you're trying to do, your new skills. Now, that don't mean that he can't use this stuff while he's playing, his actual games. But his efficiency with it may not be there. Now, we could sit here and say that, okay, what better experience than in-game experience? Fair enough. And I agree with you, but you got to also look at it like this. Just because you learn something doesn't mean it's always practical. For instance, at one point in my school career, I was working to be a nurse. And even the nurses said, we're going to teach you this stuff in the book, but you're going to throw out like 95% of the shit in the book because we don't do it by the book when you're actually, working as a nurse. That same shit applies for just about every profession. I was a medic when I was a soldier, a United States soldier from 2008 2012. I worked as a medic. Our background training was EMT. The stuff that we learned in the book, we didn't take and use all of the stuff in the book, and we modified and did different shit from what the book taught us and what we were taught in school. Because we basically go through the same thing. When just a little tidbit, we were going through our training to basically be an EMT or medic. It's the same training you would go through being in an EMT in normal life, just a lot more condensed. And we also had the part of it where we had to learn the quote unquote medic system, which is, different because, we're in the military. So there's certain things we can do in the military that we couldn't do in the civilian world, certain different kind of surgeries and stuff. And so how they apply EMT skills is different than what the book teaches. Also, regular EMTs will tell you the stuff that they learned in the book doesn't always translate or apply directly to, out in the field. What you like the certain skills that you learn how to do certain things, yes, but and the knowledge of the body, yes, that stuff applies. But okay, you got to be more efficient. This person has this much more drastic of an injury. You might have to skip a step to save their life or do whatever X Y Z. How this applies to Lonzo is now going to have to try stuff in games that one he either may not be completely fully comfortable about or may not work for him, and it may work against certain opponents or a certain way, but without that practice he can't fine tune it. Like, okay, so I have to look for this is the time. It might take him, see, we might Lonzo might spend 2 or 3 months in the season trying and getting used to some of this stuff, whereas he may come into the season already used to some of it and he could just perform it and do it comfortably and make it work. That could be the difference between him shooting 42% and say 46%, right? And even if he gets an increase overall, because I think he shot like 38, 39% this year, maybe 40%. Yeah, it was 40%. If let's just say he only goes up to 43%, right? But let's just say at the beginning of the season, he was shooting around 41. And then let's say around the end of the season, like his last, say, because they have it a 72 game season, let's just split it in half for simplicity's sake. No, actually, let's just make it 30. Let's say his last 30 games, he shot like 47%. So you see what I'm saying? That affects money, how people evaluate you, how they look at you. And for him, that could affect, a lot of stuff for him and the Pelicans going forward. So that's something we have to take a look at. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Jackson Hayes, all these guys are going to have to sit here and, get used to their stuff and try it out and make it work. They're gonna have to learn on the fly. They have to get acclimated to it on the fly. Now, some of you might say, well, hey, we're gonna have to do that anyway in the league. Okay, like I said, that's fair. But I tell you what, I will stick with my EMT example. If you practice being an EMT for 20 years versus if you practiced it for 6 months, would you be more comfortable if you had done it for like 20 years and you know everything? I mean, granted, yes, it's a very serious, thing when you guys see out there. You might go, oh, somebody might deliver your first baby, or you see somebody bleeding out in front of you. You might be like, wow, it might hit you. But the point is, you would be more comfortable in your skills the longer time you had to develop and practice it versus if you're just like, okay, you've had less time. You know, that's why this is going to be very important going forward, and we're going to have to keep our eyes on this. Um, like this is going to be a challenging season for multitude of reasons. One, new coach for the Pels. Uh, you know, and roster's gonna get flipped, obviously, because Drew's up for trade. So people are gonna have to, redefine some chemistry here and there, and things like that. Obviously, new system, new coach, expectations, defensive principles, new coaching staff that you have to get used to and train with. You got to build different relationships. Now they're supposed to be traveling to cities, so we're gonna get NBA games in cities, and they're gonna have fans. And so now we have to get back. They have to get back used to that because remember, some of these guys played bubble games. They didn't have that, so it was different. Now players like Trae Young and the Hawks was sitting at home and could play might not be so different, but having less fans, we don't know how that affects people. Hell, Paul George is talking about I need to see a mental health counselor because it's like with my mind. Okay, we don't know how that stuff affects you. So this is gonna be some serious, serious, serious shit. And I'm having this conversation with you guys because I want to prep you guys for this. Yes, we should be excited. We about to get some basketball back. Like, say that, man. We about to get games back. The finals just ended, and we just saw this shit. And most of us, we Pels fans right now, we ain't seen Lonzo and Zion hit the floor. We can't, we done with Alvin Gentry. Drew about to be gone. Draft picks and stuff. We don't even know. People might, Chicago might jump up to get LaMelo. Like, this season about to be off the chain, right? But some of our favorite players that we've hitched our wagons to might find this to be a little bit more difficult, especially if you was a rookie or like Lonzo, who really ain't had that offseason. And so now you got to get acclimated and get used to this and everything. And with COVID, practices have been limited. There used to be videos every day of athletes working out. And, hell, Lance Stevenson used to have, like, his summer mixtape would be off the chain. Lance Stevenson be up in the gym just shimmying on people, busting threes, rocking the guitar. Like, Lance Stevenson used to have a fucking ball. I miss Lance. We need Lance back in the NBA. I love that nigga on the Pels. That nigga have Pels league. But I love Lance. But it's a whole different ball game. Like, we can't just make assumptions about stuff. Now, granted, I ain't gonna say we all. I believe Lonzo is a basketball prodigy, basketball genius. And like Stan said, I believe, like he said, great players figure it out. So who knows? He might show up and his little bit of technique, he might absorb it and just be like, okay, come out there, just start getting buckets. And it'd be like, God damn. Like I'm telling you guys, if Lonzo could be that kind of cat where he could sit there and absorb this stuff and come out there, and next thing you know, he 22, 23, 27, high efficiency. It could happen. I don't think it's going to happen, but it could. But the point is, we have to take this and process it properly. Okay? Especially, think about this. I'm going to hit this point again because I don't think y'all understand how crucial this is. If training camp and free agency are going to run together, imagine if Drew Holiday is there for training camp, 2 weeks, before, season starts. And then the day of the game, he's getting traded for somebody else. And let's say you only got 1 week left before the season starts. You got 1 week, and you already missed a preseason game to build chemistry with a guy that was on your team that's no longer on your team now. You got somebody who's not even there who's going to have to try to hurry up and learn the system. He will start, and you have to be able to play with him in the game. Now, they do this all the time with trades, but you at least there's continuity on the team because everybody on the team knows what they're doing. Okay, man, let me go out here and tell you, okay, this is what you need to do. All right, when blah, blah, blah does this, you got to come here because blah, blah, blah. The pin down's here. Look for this. You know, this is your cut. This is your option right here. When I do this, I'm going to be looking for you right here. It's easier to do that when everybody knows. When everybody is learning, it's going to be like, okay, look, I want to help you, Doc, but I'm still learning myself. I can't extend my confidence to you to help you because I don't want to fuck it up because I'm still learning it too. These are real fucking issues that the players are going to run into, especially the young players. So be privy to this. I know, be excited. Be excited. I'm excited for the league to be back. I'm ready to see my boy Zio too, because it's gonna be Zio fucking 2. Every time he go out there start getting buckets, I'm gonna be the main one on Twitter talking shit. Because that's what I do. I'm from Louisiana, we talk shit. Be out there talking cash, money shit. You know. But let's keep it real. You know, this is gonna be different. This is different life, different times we living in. So you never been through no shit like this. Neither the players. So this is your boy spoiling y'all with another video. For the post this one immediately, and then I'm about to head off to work. Peace.